In this video, we will set up Source-Nexus control and Source-Nexus to conference multiple consumer and professional endpoints into a Pro Tools session so clients can be brought in along with professional voice talent. They can read with picture sync. Everyone sees it in sync, including the clients who are brought in on various consumer endpoints. So the first thing we're doing here is we're creating an input and an output driver for every endpoint we want to connect in using Source-Nexus. And so we're using Source-Nexus control to create all these drivers. To Skype, for example, that one just needs to be mono. And then we create the corresponding from Skype, which also just needs to be mono. And continuing on, so we will have to Google Voice, and then mono again, and its corresponding from Google Voice. And once again, mono. Finally, some other endpoints that we need. We can create one that is to Source Live so that we can have our clients view our edit with high quality picture and perfect sync with video. And of course, to Zoom and from Zoom, both of which are mono as well. Alright, so now we can see all of our drivers if we make the window bigger. If we move on, now we're going to create the same corresponding buses in Pro Tools. I already have my to Source Connect and from Source Connect, so I'll just adjust those, get a space in there. Alright, now we're going to create some more buses, again corresponding to each driver we created in Source-Nexus control. This is to Skype, mono. And then we have from Skype, mono. Continuing, we'll make, this one will be to Source Connect now. You can make this one stereo because Chrome is capable of high-ish quality audio, so better for the clients to monitor compared to Zoom and Skype, but not really for recording. Like anything Chrome, it might distort in time and frequency, so not really the best option for recording the voice talent. Moving on, we've got this one. It's a stereo bus. We'll make this one to Source Live because that will be stereo, high quality to our clients. A new bus here, mono. This will be to Zoom, the corresponding from Zoom. And finally, and here we have to Google Voice and, of course, from Google Voice. So that should do the trick with the buses. Close out of that. We'll now create tracks, aux tracks, for each of these endpoints. Some are mono, some are stereo. We only need a single aux track per endpoint because the aux track handles the input to the endpoint and the output from the endpoint back into Pro Tools. So here we go with Source Connect now, Source Connect now. Continuing on, those are stereo. This one is mono. This will be Skype. Next up, we have another mono one. And we can make this Google Voice. And one more. And mono again. And we can make this Zoom. Alright, so let's go over to our mixer view, and now let's put all of our aux sends so that we can have everybody hear each other. The most important thing here is that we do not want to send somebody back to themselves. So here's the Source Connect track, or the Source Connect send, but I'm going to remove the Source Connect send from the Source Connect channel. And then we'll move on here and we'll do the Source Connect Now send. And again, I'm going to put all the faders up so they're always open. And then I'm going to remove Source Connect Now from the Source Connect Now channel. And so forth. So we will now put, we'll now put Skype. And we'll put the faders up. And remove Skype from its own channel. Next up, we will do Google Voice. There we go. And again, we'll remove Google Voice from its own channel and then set all the faders up. And finally, Zoom. So once again, we're going to remove Zoom from its own channel and then put all the faders up. So there you can see we have a diagonal line of all the mixed minuses, no one feeding back to themselves, but everyone feeding to everybody else. So it's a full conference of all these different services together. So let's go on and put the Nexus plugins on each track. We have 2 stereo tracks here for Source Connect and Source Connect Now. So we'll put the Source-Nexus Pro plugin on those 2, and then we have 3 mono tracks, and we'll put Source-Nexus Pro on those tracks as well. Next, we can set all the routing. We have 2 Source Connect on the top for send, and then we have from Source Connect on the bottom for receive. Then moving on to Source Connect Now, again we have 2 Source Connect Now on the top for the send, and on the bottom from Source Connect Now for the receive. Then we've got Skype, 2 Skype for the send, and from Skype for the receive. And Google Voice, as you predicted, 2 Google Voice for the send on the top of the Source-Nexus plugin, and from Google Voice on the receive for the bottom of the Source-Nexus plugin. Finally, 2 Zoom on the top for this one, sending, and from Zoom on the bottom for receiving our output from Zoom. So we'll solo isolate each track so that whatever we do during our mix doesn't disturb the conference. And we'll just double check our settings. Again, Source Connect to and from for the Source Connect track. Source Connect Now to and from for the Source Connect Now aux track. Skype to and Skype from on the receive for the Skype track. Next, to Google Voice on the send, from Google Voice on the receive going out for our aux track on the receive side. And lastly, to Zoom on the send going off to Zoom, and what we're receiving from Zoom comes from Zoom and to Source-Nexus. All right, let's add our talkback track. Make a mono aux track, call it talkback. And we'll also create another stereo track, and we'll call this one master so we can put our DIM for the Source Talkback plugin. Input is our microphone, there it is. We'll make no output and we'll send everything directly off the sends. So there's Source Connect. Here is Source Connect Now. Next is Skype. Then we've got Google Voice, and finally Zoom. So now we're sending our talkback to all the communication endpoints. We'll put the Source Talkback plugin on here so we can trigger it with the / key. There we go. You can see all the sends moving. And then we'll put the Source Talkback M on the master fader so it dims our control room when we hit the talkback. Next we'll go through and we'll route the outputs of each aux track to the from bus so we can record these if necessary. Here's from Source Connect off of the Source Connect aux track. Here's from Source Connect Now off of the Source Connect Now aux track. Predictably from Skype on the Skype aux track. There we go. And Google Voice from Google Voice on the Google Voice aux track. Finally, from Zoom on the Zoom aux track. So we're multi-routing all of those by holding the control key. They still go out 1 and 2 to my monitors, but they're also going to the record path. We'll make a record track now. Put that at the top. You can see that we can access any one of the inputs that we want to record onto this record track. Probably record onto this track muted because you're hearing it directly out of the aux track. That way you don't have a double route. There's many ways to skin these things, so this is just one way, of course. We'll create a playback track. That way we can put any edits we have back onto the playback track, and we can send that to all of our endpoints. So here it is going to me. We'll also send it to Source Live. That way the people on Source Live can see it with video sync. And we'll carry all of our aux sends up. There's Source Connect. There's Source Connect Now, Skype, Google Voice, and Zoom. We'll mute them because the members on Skype and Zoom and Source Connect Now will hear them directly through those auxiliary sends. We'll have a track for Source Live so we can bypass the plugin, and therefore we have the ability to decide where the endpoints hear the voice talent during the record for latency or quality, such as Source Live or the consumer endpoints like Skype, etc. That was the SE rewire for picture lock with the talent, so we can read in sync with picture and feed that to the clients on Source Live. So now we'll set the routing for the Source Connect plugin, the Nexus bus to Source Connect on the input and from Source Connect on the output for the Nexus buses that we created at the first thing in this video. I'll set my buffer back down to a reasonable setting here. And I'll also set my queue manager folder so that I know where the recordings are going so the queue system can pick those up. We'll set up a Source Connect Now connection as well for the clients to tie in. Pick our number of participants, start the connection. And over here we'll set the input. We'll make this bigger so you can see the input over the output. The input, we'll set it to Source Connect Now from the Nexus bus and from Source Connect Now from the Nexus driver that we created. So that is all set. Next we will move on to Skype. So the microphone in Skype is to Skype from our Nexus control driver, and the speakers are from Skype for the Nexus control driver. So next we'll move on to Zoom. Similar to Skype, we'll go into the preferences here. And first, I think they have the speaker on the top. We will pick from Zoom as the output for the Nexus control driver that we picked. That's feeding into the Nexus Pro plugin on the bottom on receive. And now we have to Zoom for the microphone feeding into Zoom coming from the send side of the Nexus control plugin in Pro Tools. Finally, we have Google Voice. We'll get into the settings here. Again, we'll set the input driver to Google Voice. So we have to allow it to use the microphone. Now we'll set the input to Google Voice for the input coming from the send side of the Nexus Pro plugin into the Pro Tools session. And from Google Voice will be the output that we feed to receive on the bottom of the Nexus control plugin in our Pro Tools session. All right. Finally, we'll set up Source Live. So we'll make a send from the scratch track going to the Source Live bus so that we can play back the scratch track or not in the Source Live video send to the clients. We'll also make an aux input here for Source Live so that we can easily mute the whole thing by bypassing the Nexus plugin that will feed Source Live. So this we'll call this to Source Live. We'll put the Source-Nexus plugin on it. And we'll set the input or the send over to our to Source Live driver. The output, we can set it really anywhere. Make sure it's not in our way, so we'll use 2324. And we'll make the input to this our Source Live bus internally here in Pro Tools. and it needs no output actually because it's just going off to clients. So between that, having a send that we can mute as necessary, having the plugin that we can mute as necessary, we can decide when people hear what we want them to hear through Source Live or through the lower latency client applications. Next, we need to set our video crop in Source Live. Grab this, show our video down here at the bottom so the clients only see what we want them to see. We'll go over here, set our audio input. Again, that's the to Source Live driver, and start the broadcast. And there you go, a complete conference. Clients using any system they want a conference in, feeding them with high quality video and audio in perfect sync over Source Live, and talent connected on Source Connect using RTS for picture lock if they're reading to picture sync. Thank you for watching.